Hello everyone, this is Vishal from Vision Language Experts. I'm very excited today because we're going to discuss read alouds in depth. Now, read aloud is number one task for your speaking module and for your reading module. It is very important task as well. Now, it contributes around, I would say, 25% to 30% of the marks towards your reading module. Now, what you have to do in this particular task is you will be getting a passage on the screen. You may get 30 to 40 seconds for the preparation time. You will be listening to the beep sound after the preparation time is finished, and then you have to read the passage given on the screen. Now, it looks very straightforward task, but it is not. There are a lot of things which one need to understand. There are a lot of complexities which one need to resolve so that they can get perfect scores for their speaking module and for their reading module. Now, this video will be divided into 5 sections. We will be sharing the updated 2021 strategy at the end of the video. So stay tuned till the very end. Now, in this particular number 1 section, we will be covering the basics. Number 2 section, we will be discussing the marking criteria. Number 3 section will be do's and don'ts. Number 4 strategy will be discussing the updated 2021 strategy. And then last but not the least, the strategy will be tailored down to the 7 or below aspirants and to the students who want 8 and above. Now, let's move on with the number 1 section of today's video, which is read aloud's format and basics. Okay guys, let's start. Now, as I said, there will be passage on the screen. You will be getting 30 to 40 seconds depending on the length of the passage. Normally, you can get maximum around 60 to 70 words in one read aloud. You have 30 to 40 seconds. Again, if the passage is very lengthy, you will get 40 seconds for the preparation time. If the passage is medium range, you might get 35 seconds. And if it is very small, you will get 30 seconds. Now, in this particular preparation time, you have to be very thorough with the entire passage. And then after the beep sound, you should start speaking. Now, the second bit you need to understand when it comes to read aloud is that you have to make sure that you speak loud, clear, and fluent. Now, that leads us to the second section, which is marking structure. Now, the marking structure is very straightforward again. There are 3 components when it comes to your read alouds. The number 1 component is fluency. The number 2 component is your pronunciation. And number 3 component is your content. All right, now fluency directly impacts your speaking scores. Now you have to make sure that you're fluent throughout the read aloud section so that you do not lose marks for your speaking module. Whereas your pronunciation impacts both speaking and reading to some extent. And the last module, which is content, it directly impacts your reading scores. Now let's understand each one of them. And let's try to make sure that we try to get 5 out of 5 for all these 3 components. Yes, you will be getting marked out of 5 for every single component in each of the read alouds. So first of all, let's come to the fluency. Now you have 5 marks to cover. The fluency is very straightforward. You cannot take any unnecessary pauses. You cannot take any hesitations. However, a lot of students are confused when it comes to the fluency. They normally compare fluency with the pace. They try to speak very fast and then they try to maintain their fluency in that sense. However, that is not the case. You cannot speak very fast or very slow, otherwise computer algorithm will mark you negatively. You have to pick your moderate pace. You have to make sure that your words are clear and there are not fumbles or hesitations while you're speaking. Now, fluency normally, students can get 90 out of 90 if they follow these basic steps, but there is more to it. Sometimes what we do is we try to speak very slow. We take numerous pauses just to get better marks in the content. Now, this way you will be losing out your marks in the fluency. So you have to make sure that whenever there are punctuations, you take a little slight natural pause over there so that you maintain the flow, you maintain the sentence structure, and you are also getting the marks for your fluency. Sometimes you have to have an extra pause from your side, even though there is no punctuation, because the sentences sometimes are very lengthy. Now, normally what we are seeing nowadays in the exams are you get shorter passages, but the sentences are very lengthy. There are no punctuations in between. So you need to make sure that you maintain a certain flow, but you cannot speak, in one breath the entire passage or even a sentence which has more than 25 or 30 words. You need to stop in between. You need to take a pause so that your breath does not lose it. That means you should not be breathless while speaking. Now, if you maintain these basic steps, you will get full marks in your fluency. And again, guys, I'm remembering this particular instance when one of the student was speaking very fluently, but the pronunciation was not up to the mark. He got entire 90 in speaking only because he was fluent throughout the exam. So again, guys, reminding you that fluency directly impacts your speaking scores. So if you're very fluent, you will get full marks in the speaking module. Pronunciation marks can impact your fluency marks as well sometimes, but we will come to that portion a little bit later. Now, again, to give you a quick snapshot for the fluency, you will be getting 5 marks for the fluency. You have to make sure that there are no omissions while you're speaking. You should not, fumble. There should not be any hesitations. There should be a certain flow. You cannot speak too fast. You cannot speak too slow. You have to pick a moderate pace. Otherwise, algorithm will mark you negatively. Take slight pauses at punctuations. If there are no punctuations at all and the sentence is very lengthy, take a subtle pause in between. Take a natural pause in between, close to the connectors, I would say, and you will still get full marks for the speaking module for the fluency section. Moving on to the next section, which is your pronunciation. Now, pronunciation is a second component for your marking structures when it comes to your read alouds. Now, pronunciation also impacts your speaking scores, and to some extent, it also impacts your reading scores as well. Now, what do you mean by pronunciation, guys? Pronunciation is speaking clearly, pronouncing the words correctly. However, there are a lot of factors which can hinder your pronunciation scores. Number one factor is clarity of the words. You need to be speaking clearly, guys, throughout the exam, so that computer algorithm can pick up your words, can recognize those words, and can match those words with the database they have for a specific question. Now, sometimes students do speak clearly, but they try to eat up half of the words, and that leads to negative marking or less marks in the pronunciation section. So what you have to do in this particular case is you have to make sure that you're speaking the entire word. Sometimes we try to speak in a fluent manner and we miss out the last portion or last couple of letters of the word, which leads to less marks in the pronunciation. So keep this thing in mind. Always speak the entire word and make sure you are audible enough so that computer can recognize your words. Now, another factor is your mic position. Now, a lot of students are not sure which is the optimal position which will help them to make sure that they get full marks in the pronunciation. Now, guys, the mic position can vary depending on students' pitch. If your pitch is very high, I would recommend you to keep a position closer to your upper lip, somewhere over here. If you have a more of a I would say husky voice, again this position is the optimal one. But sometimes if you have a very low tone, then I would recommend you to keep it closer to the lower lip. Now these positions are tested and they will work 95% of the time. However, if you are having an issue where you're speaking clearly, you're speaking fluently, but still not getting the marks, then we might need to look into your score report. We might need to test your speaking section to identify if there is a technical issue and computer is not recognizing your words. Then we might need to sit with you, analyze you, and come with a relatively different approach than the standard one. Now, once you have your optimal mic position set, the optimal mic position will help you to make sure that you are not missing out on the pronunciation marks. The words you are speaking will be captured by the algorithm very clearly, and you will get full marks in the pronunciation. Now, the third factor is, guys, you need to pronounce the words accurately. Sometimes we are not sure about the actual pronunciation of a specific word, so we try to just speak it the way we know it, and sometimes that leads to less marks in the pronunciation. So my recommendation is, when you get the preparation time, go all the words thoroughly. Make sure you read them word by word, plus sometimes the words, if they are very hard to pronounce, try to break those words into 2 small words. Now I'll give you guys an example. I'll pick one of the read aloud. From this particular read aloud, I'll be reading a couple of difficult words. I'll show you how to break them apart, and then this will help you to improve your pronunciation scores, guys. Now this is the question which I'm going to pick up. This is a very recent question, guys, in the exam. A lot of our students have got this question recently, so we will be picking this question up and we will be using it as an example, right, to show you guys what is expected out of you in the exam when it comes to pronunciation. And also I will be showing you how to maintain your flow throughout the exam. Now I'll be also showing this question on the screen to you guys, so you guys also understand that which question we are picking, what things we are keeping in mind, and what things you will be keeping in mind, so that you don't miss out on any of the marks. All right, the question name is carbon emission. Now, if you see this question on the screen, guys, you will see that the passage is a little bit lengthy. It's not a small passage, so you will be getting somewhere around 35 or 40 seconds. But there are not many difficult words in this passage, but some words we might mispronounce, or some words we might omit, and that might lead to the mispronunciation. Especially the words which have S at the end and the words which have ED at the end. Students tend to miss those words and they lose marks in their pronunciation as well. Let's read this passage thoroughly, guys. When countries assess their annual carbon emissions with S, they count up their cars and power stations, but bushfires are not included, presumably. Now try to break this word presumably. Now we are breaking the word. This will help us to get the right pronunciation of this particular word, because they are deemed to events beyond human control. In Australia, Victoria alone sees several 100,000 hectares burn each year. In both 2004 and more recently, the figure has been over a million hectares. Now we have read the entire passage thoroughly. We know we have to make sure that we consider the S letter at the end of each word. We have gone through the punctuations as well. We know there are a lot of punctuations which will help us to be fluent. We will not go breathless, and yes, we will also make sure that all the words we are speaking are very clear. Now I'll perform this task in front of you guys, so you guys know what is expected out of you as well. When countries assess their annual carbon emissions, they count up their cars and power stations, but bushfires are not included, presumably because they are deemed to events beyond human control. in Australia, Victoria alone sees several 100,000 hectares burned each year. In both 2004 and more recently, the figure has been over 1 million hectares. And then you click the next button and you go to the next task. Now, this is how you need to speak, guys. Very clear, loud. Yes, you have to make sure you do not miss out on any of the words. You do not miss out on any of the letters, especially the S letter or the ED letters. And in terms of the fluency, guys, you guys must have noticed that I'm taking a slight natural pause at all the punctuations. That helps me to be more fluent, and I basically never go breathless. Now, we have covered so far fluency and pronunciation. Now, sometimes, guys, if your pronunciation is not up to the mark, it will impact your reading scores as well. So you need to make sure that you are pronouncing the words accurately, that the words you're speaking are very clear, and your mic position is optimal for you, so that computer algorithm can capture the words you're speaking and they give you full marks. Moving on to the third section of your marking criteria, which is content. Now, content directly impacts your reading scores. So you have to understand that you give 100% efforts in the content section, because these are the easy marks for your reading module. As I've told you guys in the start of the video, you will be getting somewhere around 25% to 35% of the marks towards your reading module. Sometimes the percentage can vary depending on how many questions you're getting. Now, normally, guys, you get between 3 to 5 marks for the content for each read aloud towards your reading module. We know for fluency and pronunciation we get 5 each, but for content particularly, you will be getting between 3 to 5. Now, if the passage is very short, you will be getting, guys, 3 marks. If the passage is lengthy, towards 60 or 70 words, you will be getting 5 marks. Now, how to get full marks in the content? The number one thing which you need to keep in mind is that you need to make sure that there are no omissions. That means you should not omit any word, you should not miss any word. Second thing is there should not be any distortion. Distortion means that you should not change the word. And the last bit, which is your additions. Now, you should not add on any of the words, guys. Now, if you miss out any of the word, that will impact your content scores. If you change any of the words, that will also impact your content scores. And if you add on any of the words, that will also impact your reading scores. Now, you have to make sure that you are thorough with the entire passage in your preparation time, so that you don't make any content mistakes. But if you happen to make a mistake, do not worry about this mistake or that particular mistake. Reason being, because if you impact yourself due to the mistake which you have made, there are higher chances you will end up making more mistakes. Now, that also leads to less marks in the fluency as well. If you are correcting yourself, if you are self-correcting yourself, you will lose marks in your fluency. So this is highly recommended throughout your speaking module, and especially throughout your reading task, which is your read alouds for the speaking section. You do not self-correct yourself. If you have made a mistake, that's fine. You cannot do anything to correct it now. Just move on. Just make sure that you don't make another mistake. Just relax. Do not panic, because that will lead to more mistakes in the content and supposedly in the fluency as well. So, guys, make sure you do not make any mistake while you're speaking. If you happen to make a mistake, just move on. Do not panic, and you will get still full marks in the fluency portion and partial mark in the content. Now, guys, if you happen to make 2 to 3 mistakes, normally there will be a reduction of 1 mark towards your content portion. But if you make less than 3 mistakes, sometimes there are no deductions at all. So even if you make 1 mistake, that's still fine. I tested out in the exam myself. I made 2 mistakes and still I got 90 in speaking and in reading and got 90 in fluency and pronunciation. But again, you have to make sure that you do not miss out any of the words. You do not mispronounce any of the words, because that will also impact your reading scores and your content scores. Now that was it guys for the marking structure. I hope you are very clear now how read alouds are marked in the exam, what you need to suppose to do when it comes to the marking criteria, what parameters you need to consider, and how to practice them in the exam as well and at home as well, while doing some practice sessions by yourself. All right, let's move on to the third section, which is do's and don'ts. Now in this particular section guys, we will be covering the things which one should do while performing read alouds in the exam and one should avoid doing while performing read alouds in the exam. The number one thing which we will be going through is your fluency, self-corrections. Now we just mentioned that self-corrections can impact your both fluency and content. So you need to keep in mind that you do not repeat yourself, do not correct yourself. We are in a habit of correcting ourselves. A lot of students say apologize when they make a mistake, and that basically comes naturally while they're doing this task. So you have to prepare your mind set in such a way that you make a mistake, you still move on, you do not react to that mistake. That is the key. There should be no reaction whatsoever to any mistake you're making while speaking, while performing read alouds. Number two thing is you should not distort, add, or skip any of the words. Now, if you miss out any of the words or add on any of the words or even distort any of the words, you have already lost your marks. You have to make sure that you are thorough with the content in the preparation time. You are very well versed of every single word in the preparation time, and you are making sure that you do not make any content mistakes throughout the read aloud sections, because that will directly impact your reading scores. Now guys, another important thing which we have not discussed yet is that if you happen to come across any of the word which you are sure that you cannot pronounce it properly, it is new to you, you have tried your level best in the preparation time to pronounce it accurately, but you know that you will mess up. The number one rule is try to speak it as it is. That means mispronounced way. So that means if you do not know the actual pronunciation of the words, do not try to stop while you're performing the task and then try to correct it. The better way is just keep speaking and just say the word as it is. This will definitely lead to negative marks in your pronunciation section, but your fluency will be intact and your content also to some extent will be intact. So you will lose some marks in the pronunciation, but it will be a very I would say nominal amount, which you would otherwise make a lot of negative mistakes if you stop and then try to speak it properly. So I'll give you guys an example now. Let's pick up another question which students have got in the exam. We'll be performing this one now, and I'll give you guys example what you should be doing when it comes to this particular case where you do not know how to pronounce a specific question or specific word in the exam. The topic which we're going to pick for the read aloud is heterogeneous students. Now you can see on the screen that there's a passage over here. There are a couple of tricky words. So the topic which we're going to pick is aromatic substance. Let's read this passage. You guys should be able to see this on the screen. Researchers have found a way to convert the aromatic substance vanillin. Let's say we do not know how to pronounce vanillin. We have tried a level best. We are sure that we're going to mispronounce it. So what we will do is we will just read the way we know it without taking any pause, without hesitating. But let's go through the entire passage quickly. Into a redox active electrolyte material for liquid batteries. The technology is an important step towards ecologically sustainable energy storage. All right, let's perform this task. Researchers have found a way to convert the aromatic substance vanillin into a redox active electrolyte material for liquid batteries. The technology is an important step towards ecologically sustainable energy storage. Notice that I did not pronounce vanillin properly. I just mispronounced it, but I did not stop or hesitate while speaking it incorrectly because I knew that I'm going to mispronounce it. So better not lose marks in the fluency. That will help me to get full marks in the speaking. Now this is your option. If you come across any particular word which you do not know how to pronounce, just maintain your fluency, guys. You cannot do anything about it now. Just try to make sure that you do not hesitate. You do not take any pause before the word, and then you just move on. Now this is very important, guys, because there will be some questions you will be getting, very tricky words. There will be some words which you have not heard of or not have seen, and you might get into that situation where you have to make sure that you apply this strategy. Now moving on to the next thing which you need to consider. You need to make sure, guys, you take small pauses at punctuation and also at the places where there are connectors. If the sentence is very lengthy and you do not have any punctuation, you can take a slight pause at a connector so that you can maintain your breath and you can maintain your fluency and pronunciation and content. Now that was it, guys, for do's and don'ts. We have covered almost everything which you need to know and which you should avoid while performing read aloud task. Now we are finally moving to the main important section of today's lecture, which is the 2021 strategy. Now in this strategy, guys, we have worked months and months to get to the position where we would comfortably say that this will be a game changer for every student. Now, before jumping right on the strategy, let me explain what students used to do before we introduced this strategy. Now, there were a lot of students. What they used to do was they used to speak very quickly, very fast, and then they just try to rush up, not taking any pause. I'll show you guys a demo. We'll pick the same question which we just did, which is the aromatic substance. Researchers have found a way to convert the aromatic substance vanillin into a redox active electrolyte material for liquid batteries. Technology is an important step towards ecologically sustainable energy source. Now, this is the way a lot of students used to perform the task because they had this thing in mind that if they do not speak fast, they will lose the marks. However, we tested out that there are two components in the fluency. Number one component is your pace, and number two component is your flow. You have to keep them separate, guys. Pace is actually the speed which you speak in. Flow is not related or directly related with the pace. Flow means that it should be continuous in a certain manner. Now I'll show you guys the strategy which we applied in the exam, and it worked out perfectly fine, guys. Let's pick the same question. The strategy is that you take multiple small natural pauses even though there are no punctuations. Exactly right, guys. We will be taking a lot of small pauses after phrases, and that will not impact your flow. That will help you to maintain your content. I'll give you a demo version of it now. Researchers have found a way to convert the aromatic substance vanillin into a redox active electrolyte material for liquid batteries. The technology is an important step towards ecologically sustainable energy storage. Now this is the way you will be performing in the exam on the basis of this new strategy. Now what we have done in this particular section is we have divided the words into small phrases. We have divided the big sentence into number of small phrases. The important thing to remember while you're speaking or using this strategy is your overall pace is still same. You're not reducing the pace. You're still speaking in a moderate manner, but you have started taking small natural pauses. Now if you notice that I'm not stopping even for a second, I'm stopping or taking a pause for a millisecond. That helps me to maintain my flow because that sounds as a continuous sentence. A lot of students, what they used to do other than speaking very fast was they were taking long pauses. I'll show you guys what they used to do. Researchers have found a way to convert the aromatic substance vanillin into a redox active electrolyte material for liquid batteries. The technology is an important step towards ecologically sustainable energy storage. This way you will lose your fluency marks because you will be going word by word and there will be a lot of long pauses. You have to make sure that you should avoid the long pauses. There should be subtle natural pauses. So I'll redo this one again and I'll do another one as well, but I'll again do this one for you, the recommended version, the new strategy version, which we have tried in a lot of Pearson official mock test. Then we went for the actual PTE exam and we got the positive results. Here I go. Researchers have found a way to convert the aromatic substance vanillin into a redox active electrolyte material for liquid batteries. The technology is an important step towards ecologically sustainable energy storage. All right, let's pick another one, which is barley grains. So I'm going to perform this one as well on the screen in front of you guys. You can see the passage. Let's quickly prepare within 30 seconds. University of Adelaide researchers have uncovered fundamental new information about the malting characteristics of barley grains. They say their finding could pave the way to more stable brewing processes. Over here, I'm going to take a pause. Or new malts for craft brewers. Published in the Nature publication scientific reports, the production for brewing and a specific tissue layer within the barley grain. Okay, I'm going to perform this task now. University of Adelaide researchers have uncovered fundamental new information about the malting characteristics of barley grains. They say their finding could pave the way to more stable brewing processes on new malts for craft brewers. Published in the Nature's publication scientific reports, the production for brewing and a specific tissue layer within the barley grain. That's right, guys. Now this is the way you should speak in the exam. Very moderate pace. We're not speaking very fast. We're taking a lot of pauses, guys. But every pause sounds as a natural pause. That is the key. Not stopping for a very long time. It's very subtle. It's basically for a millisecond. But in the preparation time, we are dividing the words. We are taking basically pauses at connectors that helps us to maintain the overall flow, and it sounds as a natural pause. So pick the connectors and you can take a slight pauses over there. Now this will help you guys, especially in questions like these ones, where there are basically no punctuations other than the full stops. Sentences are very lengthy and you have to make sure that you are fluent. You have to make sure you are taking enough breath so that you do not miss out the content. Now guys, if you practice this strategy at least 20 every day, you will not miss it in the exam. Practice the strategy. Try to listen to the sample answer which I have just performed. Try to compare your answers with the sample answer which I have just performed. Okay guys, moving to the very last section of your read alouds. Now in this particular section, we have divided this same strategy for two level of students who just wish to get 7 or less, and students who wish to get 8 and above. Now if you wish to get 7 or below, you can use the same strategy which we are just using now. So you don't need to change anything. So you will be taking these many pauses in the entire sentence, and you will be speaking in this particular flow. However, if you aim to get 8 and above, there is a slight different version of this. Now I'll show you guys how to perform for 8 and above using this strategy. University of Adelaide researchers have uncovered fundamental new information about the malting characteristics of barley grains. They say their finding could pave the way to more stable brewing processes or new malts for craft brewers. Published in the Nature publication scientific reports, the production for brewing and a specific tissue layer within the barley grain. Right. Now the difference was, number one thing, we were a little bit faster. The pace was a little bit faster. Second thing was, we took only one extra pause in every single sentence. So if you see the number one sentence, the sentence started from the word university and it ended at the word grains. Now in this particular scenario, we just took a pause somewhere around in the middle regarding the pause. We took it close to new information. We divided the entire sentence into 2 small sentences. That is a trick. We will still take a pause, but only one pause we are taking per sentence, one extra pause from our side. If there was a punctuation in between, that will not be counted as an extra pause. Now over here, we have taken only one extra pause. That means we have divided the big sentence into 2 small sentences. Similarly, we have done the same thing for the second sentence. We took a pause somewhere around stable. Now this helped us to say both small divided sentences clearly, fluently, and content was also 100%. The last sentence, which started from published, over here we already had a punctuation, guys. So that means we did not have to have an extra pause from our side. So we took a pause after reports, and then we finished off the remaining sentence. Now this is the strategy for students who wish to get 8 and above. What you will be doing is, you will be speaking a little bit faster, not very fast again. You will be taking a extra pause from your side. You will be dividing a lengthy sentence into a small sentence. So if the sentence is very lengthy, try to break it into 2 small sentences. Make sure you take a pause closer to the connector. Do not miss out on the breath. You do not miss out on the fluency. You do not miss out on the pronunciation. You will get full 15 out of 15 marks for every single read aloud if you perform the way we just performed, we just showed you guys. Now guys, this is a game-changing strategy, because initially students used to be very scared if they can take an extra pause or not. But the way we have done it, the way we are doing it, if you do exactly the same way, you will not lose even a single mark in your fluency. The way we are doing it is the accurate way. The way we are doing it is the best way to perform read alouds, because this way you will be able to maintain your fluency no matter how lengthy the sentence is. You will be able to perform perfectly fine in the content, because you will get enough breath, enough chance to say each word clearly, and this will help you to get full marks in the reading section from your read alouds and also towards your speaking section. Now guys, if you are struggling in this particular task, the key is practice. 20 read alouds. Compare your answers with the sample answer which I've just shown you guys. Try to see the level of pauses I'm taking. Try to match the time I'm taking a pause for. That will help you to self-analyze yourself. This is very important that you self-analyze yourself, because that will help you to identify the mistakes, that will help you to work on those mistakes, and you will be performing better every single day. Make sure you practice all the exam questions. If you do not have the exam questions, comment us. We will send you all the exam questions. We work on the exam questions every week. We try to get the exam memories from our students, and we try to combine all of them in one of the PDF documents. We will be more than happy to share that document with you guys. So just comment us in the section below with your email address, obviously. That will help our team to send you this prediction file. Now guys, make sure you perform this strategy enough time before actually trying in the exam. And we always say practice make everyone perfect, and that is actually true. You have to practice on a daily level. Make sure you avoid all the unnecessary things so that you can get perfect scores in read alouds. Thank you guys. I'm very excited we launched this strategy. So I'm going to quickly share the results which we got on the screen now. So you guys can see it for yourself, the experiment which we just did in the exam, and you can use this strategy from today onwards. Now guys, we will be working on a lot of other strategy videos. If you wish for us to make a specific video on specific task, please again comment us. We'll be working very hard again to make sure that we try to help as many as students we can through the strategies, through the experiments. If you also want our team to go and experiment something, a specific task, we will be more than willing to do that. Comment us again and we will perform it, and we will share the results sooner. Thank you everyone. If you like the video, please subscribe our channel. Please like and share this video with your friends. It will help us, and the students will also be helped with this particular strategy. Thank you everyone. God bless. Good luck everyone for your exams.